So this is the GCSE OCR 21st Century Chemistry High-Tier paper. All the details you need to know about this paper are on the front page here. We are looking at question 6. So iron is an important metal in the construction industry. The main disadvantage of iron is that it rusts. Jane and Ben investigate the rusting of iron nails using two test tubes, X and Y. So we've got test tube X here with the iron nail in tap water, and test tube Y here with the iron nail and zinc coiled around it, and we've got tap water. Jane and Ben discuss the investigation. So Jane says the iron nails in X and Y will not rust because no oxygen is present. Ben says the iron nail will rust in X, but the iron nail in Y is protected by the coiled zinc strip, so will rust more slowly. Do you agree with each person's comments? Give one reason for each of your answers. So let's start with Jane. She's wrong about test tube X because for rusting of iron you need water and oxygen, and obviously you need the iron metal as well. Okay, so there is actually dissolved oxygen in this water, so we've got all the ingredients or all of the chemicals you need for rusting to happen. So that's why she is wrong. So Jane is incorrect because oxygen is dissolved in water. Ben, on the other hand, is actually correct. The iron nail will rust in X, and we've said why that is, but the iron nail in Y is protected by the coiled zinc strip, so will rust more slowly. Okay, so Ben is correct because zinc is more reactive than iron. So instead of iron reacting with the oxygen and the water, zinc reacts instead because it's more reactive. So it's a sacrificial metal. It sacrifices itself, it corrodes away, leaving the iron nail protected. So you just need to say Ben is correct because zinc is more reactive than iron. Part B. When iron rusts, an iron cation is made. So we've got iron, and that produces iron 3 plus 3 electrons. What is being oxidized in this reaction? Put a ring around the correct formula. So the knowledge you need to know for this one is what we mean by oxidation and reduction. So this is actually a redox reaction. So in a redox reaction, reduction and oxidation happen simultaneously. So reduction is the gain of electrons and oxidation is the loss of electrons. Okay, so just remember oil rig. Oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. Oxidation is loss of electrons, reduction is gain of electrons. So which formula shows us what is being oxidized? So what loses electrons? And that is this iron here. Okay, initially it's got no charge, and then after the arrow we have it's got 3 plus charge because it's lost 3 electrons. So this is the formula, iron, which is being oxidized. It loses electrons. Okay, part BII, give one reason for your answer to BI. So because iron loses electrons. Part C. Jane collects the rust. She dissolves the rust in hydrochloric acid and adds some sodium hydroxide solution. She sees a brown precipitate. What is the name of this brown precipitate? Tick one box. Iron 3 chloride, iron 2 hydroxide, iron 3 hydroxide, sodium chloride. So she dissolves rust in hydrochloric acid. So the rust is hydrated iron oxide, iron 3 oxide, because the iron has a 3 plus charge. And she puts it in hydrochloric acid, so it's reacting with hydrochloric acid, which is a strong acid. So the general equation for a metal oxide and an acid is salt and water. The salt, the name of the specific salt that we're interested in is iron chloride, okay, because we're reacting with hydrochloric acid. So we have iron chloride produced. However, this is not our final compound because then she adds some sodium hydroxide solution. So to this salt, obviously we have this produced plus water. Okay, so iron oxide plus hydrochloric acid gives iron chloride plus water. Now, this is not our final compound. Iron chloride then reacts with sodium hydroxide solution because she then adds that. So iron chloride plus sodium hydroxide there's not enough space, so this should actually be a single line. We have an arrow. This is a displacement reaction. So iron chloride reacts with sodium hydroxide to produce iron hydroxide and sodium chloride. So we have iron 3 hydroxide produced and sodium chloride. But we're only interested in this product. This is the brown precipitate that's forming. A precipitate is actually a solid. It doesn't dissolve. So we start off with aqueous solutions, we end up with a solid substance produced. In this case, it's the iron hydroxide. So this is the correct answer, iron 3 hydroxide. So it's not this one because this is not the final product. It's not this one because this is iron 2 hydroxide, and obviously it's not sodium chloride because sodium chloride is not a brown precipitate.